Winston Churchill convinced the Allied forces at the Casablanca Conference to focus their attention on the Italian front. At the conference, President Roosevelt and General George Marshall thought that the best course of action would be to deploy forces from Britain into France because it would be the most efficient route to Berlin. The Italian front would be a better front to fight on, despite being of secondary importance than the European front, because it would not only knock out and Axis power, Italy, from the war, but it would also force the Axis and Nazi powers to draw their focus and resources away from the European front. Italy would also give Allied forces control of the Mediterranean and reopen shipping lanes in the Gibraltar-Suez Canal. And the Allied powers agreed to Churchill's proposition. In July 1943, the Allied forces invaded Sicily, kickstarting the Italian campaign. The goal of the Italian campaign was to capture Italy's capital, Rome. In September 1943, U.S. and British troops had taken Sicily and moved up onto mainland Italy, landing in Salerno. Here, Allied troops were able to land and defeat some German resistance, but the bulk of the Germans were able to escape back to the Gustav Line and ran from west to east in central Italy, approximately 85 miles south of Rome. It was the greatest German defense on the peninsula. The strong point of the line was Monte Cassino. Hitler designed the line to use the geology and terrain of the Italian peninsula to be strategically advantageous for the German defenses. The line was the last major German defense before the Allies could reach Rome. The first wave of attacks would come through the Liri Valley, because here they would be able to deploy the greatest number of tanks and therefore the most amount of infantry with them. The Liri Valley is located southwest of Cassino and runs parallel with the Liri River. The attack significantly favored the Allies' troops, armed with 250,000 men, 900 artillery pieces, 1,900 tanks, and 4,000 aircraft. From what we have discussed in class about the importance of artillery, it should have been a decisive Allied victory because the Germans were armed with only 140,000 men, 196 artillery pieces, and the 114th Panzer Corps. The German 3rd Parachute Division retook Snake's Head Ridge from behind Cassino and drove back the 168th Division. On February 11th, with only 793 men left in the 168th Division, they attempted one last assault on the ridge, but they were unable to take the ridge, and many of the remaining troops were forced to surrender due to heavy machine gun fire. The 2nd Corps was forced to withdraw after losing 80% of their troops, ending the First Battle of Monte Cassino. The 34th Red Bull Division attacked the strong point of the Gustav Line, Monte Cassino. The town and mountain were defended by the German 44th Reichsgrenadier Division. The 135th and 168th Regiments of the Red Bull Division were unable to secure a bridgehead north of the city across the Liri River. They had only 4 Sherman tanks and some infantry, but once the tanks were defeated, the infantry was forced to abandon the assault. 5 days later, on the 29th, the 135th and 168th Regiments moved northwest on the river and secured a bridgehead. The 135th and 168th Regiments were armed with 24 tanks this time. The infantry of the 135th Regiment then moved south in an attempt to capture Cassino. While they moved south, the French Expeditionary Corps attacked the 3rd PSG Division to support the 135th Division attempt to drive the 44th Reichsgrenadier Division southwest. The Battle of Cassino is known as Operation Avenger. The 2nd New Zealand Division, British 78th Infantry Division, and 4th Indian Division were responsible for the assault on Cassino. The plan of assault was nearly identical to the first battle at Monte Cassino. The 4th Indian Division attacked from the north, while the 2nd New Zealand Corps would attack the town from the southeast. The commander of the 4th Indian Division, Major General Tucker, agreed to attack from the mountains instead of going around them on one condition, that the monastery at the top of the mountain would be destroyed. Major Tucker was smart to suggest a flanking attack around the German line and mountains rather than straight through it, but bombing the monastery actually gave the German artillery and infantry a better defensive position. Aerial intelligence gave no sign of German occupation in the monastery, and the monastery was a protected historical site, but Major General Tucker insisted on its destruction. On Monte Cassino included 142 B-17 Flying Fortresses, 47 B-25 Mitchells, and 40 B-26 Marauders. It was the largest bombing on a single location in the entire war. The Indian Division was unable to capture the mountains behind Monte Cassino in 3 attacks over 3 nights, and the 28th Maui Division was unable to clear a path for tanks over the railways southwest of the town into Cassino. This concluded Operation Avenger. Operation Dickens was the 3rd attempt to take Monte Cassino. The 2,500 soldiers in the German 1st Parachute Division held the entire Monte Cassino area. The operation was a frontal assault by the 4th Indian Division on the monastery and by the 2nd New Zealand Division on the town. On March 15th, the Allies bombed the town with 543 planes and 1,144 tons of bombs. By March 24th, the Allies were only able to take the railroad station and a hill to the northeast of the town. The operation was called off on the 24th. Operation Diadem was the fourth and final assault on Monte Cassino and took over a month to prepare for. The operation began on May 12th, and the first day of attacks was mostly unsuccessful. On the 13th, Allied troops on the southern part of the Gustav Line had pushed back German troops, leaving the 1st Parachute Division to defend Monte Cassino to themselves. On the 17th, the 1st Parachute Group was ordered to retreat from the Polish and British forces assaulting the monastery and town, and on the 18th, the Polish troops had finally taken the monastery and the fighting at Monte Cassino was finished. The Allies had suffered 55,000 killed or wounded to the German 25,000 killed or wounded. This is what is known as a prolific victory, or one that is devastating to the Allies despite their victory. In conclusion, the non-strategic use of bombs and lack of infantry assault planning cost Allied forces greatly on a front 1,000 miles away from the main objective of the war, Berlin.